Well, hello and God bless you. It's Jay here with another Bible review for you. Now, this time we're going to look a little bit more in depth at the KJV Store Reader's Edition Bibles. So I did do an unboxing video of this Bible, and I was super impressed at the KJV Store. It's not a place that I've ever dealt with before. I hadn't really heard of it particularly. But when I saw the pre-release video about this Bible, I really wanted to order one. So I did, and it was due for release on the 1st of December. So I'm living in the UK. It was posted from the USA on the Friday, and I had it on the Monday. I had it on the 1st of December. So I did that unboxing video. And now I've had some time to look through the Bible, to use it. It's been in and out of the box on a daily basis. So now I'm in a much better position to tell you about it, because you might be thinking of buying this and you may be frustrated because currently they're all sold out. They sold out immediately the first print run, which was 750 copies. So they are taking pre-orders of the next release, which is due to be in March or April next year. So let's have a look at this. So it comes in this box. Now, first of all, we'll have a look at the box. So if you're not interested in the box at all, just fast forward through this bit. So this box was designed by Len Williams, the owner and founder of the KJV Store. And actually, I did learn a bit about him and about the store, because being one of the first 500 to get it, I got a little bonus book that just gave the history of the KJV Store. So that was really interesting, actually, to learn that information. So on the back of the box, you've got a lot of information. Now, I really like this. Some premium Bibles come in boxes that have basically no information on them. If you're the sort of person who wants to buy a premium quality Bible, you probably want to know the information, the detailed information, because you may be, like me, a little bit of a nerd or a geek in this area, and just things like the GSM of the paper are important for you. And if you bought a premium Bible that later goes out of print and the information is not on the box, it can be quite difficult to find that information. So this box beautifully conveys all the information that you may need to know. So while I've been talking, you could always mute me and just read the information if you wanted to. But anyway, it does say that it is a paragraph setting with verse numbers in the margins and added space before verses in the text. And I'll show you that feature when we go inside. Offset poetry and special formation for lists, letters, prayers, parables, dreams and visions. Large print 11-point monarchy typeface, designed and typeset by 2K Denmark. Luxurious, soft, natural black goatskin leather, edge-lined binding, red, genuine split calfskin leather liner. Now that's a detail that's often hard to get, what the lining skin is. Full overlapping yap, nearly 1 inch. Smythe sewn pages for extra flexibility. Rounded spine, rounded corners, and Oxford hollow for lay flat design. So this is just a great amount of detail. Raised hubs on the spine, art gilt page edges, French Prima Bible 32 GSM Bible paper, 3 red ribbon markers, glossary, quote index and Bible maps. It's the pure trustworthy KJV Cambridge text, published by the KJV Store, the #1 source for King James Version Bibles. And then there's a sample of the text. There's the website of the KJV Store. A little more gold information on there. Now, it's a clamshell box, which is great, and it also has a little place there to make it easy to open. And like I said, this has been opened and closed daily for the last kind of 11 days. So 11 or 12 days. So it's very, very easy to open. I do have some Premier Bibles, which are in 2-piece boxes. They're definitely harder to open. So the ones I regularly use, it's sometimes a little frustrating because you're kind of jiggling the box around while the weight of the Bible allows the box to open. Whereas this, you can flip it open. The Bible sits perfectly in the size of the box, and then you can take it out. So that box is just a great sturdy box that should last many years and be a good place to keep your reader's KJV Bible. Okay, so enough about that. Too much, some would say. So here we have the Bible itself. Now, it's black, and actually, although I generally prefer a brown cover, black just seems fitting in this Bible. I don't know why that is, and perhaps they will bring out other editions with other color options as time goes by. They may bring it out in different colorways or even hardback, who knows, but the black does seem fitting. It has a tooled line around the text block perimeter. Now that just allows the yap to fall very, very easily down to protect the pages, and that yap will touch. So when I first got it in my other video, you'll see that it did come bound in strips of paper that would sort of, kind of train the yap within the box. Now, I've sort of ripped them open, but some people I've noticed will slide them off, so they could always, if they weren't going to use it, they could slide them back on, and it will keep that yap doing what it's supposed to do, going down. But I found just using it, it sits in the hand so nicely. So it is a goat skin. It's a lovely grain. It's got a lovely texture. It's soft and it's flexible, but it is not what I would describe as super floppy, which I'm pleased about. Coming to the spine then, you've got 6, I think, 6 raised hubs, and the embossing here is actually stamped in. So it's not just gold sort of embossed onto the goat skin, it is pressed in. It's you can feel it with your finger. It is actually indented in, stamped in. So that's for the Holy Bible and the King James Version and the Reader's Edition and the KJV Store logo. So just for a symmetry reason, I think one additional raised hub there would just make the symmetry perfect to match the one on the top, because that's quite a large gap there without in comparison, but that's just a tiny thing. Then we have the back, and you can see there is a stitched perimeter. It's a very fine stitch going all the way around the edge of the yap. So when we open it up, you've got that beautiful calf split liner within. Great to see that colour. You can hardly see the perimeter stitch, but it is there. You've got the gold gilt line that goes around the whole thing. Of course, it is edge-lined construction. You have red head and tail bands, and the 3 double satin, lovely, luxurious red ribbons. So then we'll just get the measurements of the text block again. So it is 8.5, and it is 5, and then the width, including the cover, you're looking sort of 1.75 inches pretty much. And it just fits so nicely in the hand. And what I like is I can put my hand, if I turn it over, my fingers are here, my thumb is pushing the yap, fingers there, so it's very secure in my hand. It doesn't want to slip out. It's not a really grippy goat skin, but neither is it a smooth or slippy goat skin as some premium Bibles are. And the size is just a really great size. In fact, it's a very similar size to the hugely popular ESV Veritas, as it's now called, or Heirloom Heritage, as it used to be called. So it's a very, very similar size text block to that, and indeed to my favourite NKJV, the NKJV single column. Again, this sort of text block size is just a really great size to have. Okay, so moving inside the Bible, you've got this thing that you get on premium Bibles whereby you think, oh, what's going on here? The pages are stuck together, and never ever be tempted to pull them apart, because it's not a mistake. That is part of the design, and they're supposed to be like that to strengthen the binding. So then we get onto the matte cardstock presentation page, and I love the fact that, like with Cambridge Premier Bibles, they've just gone for a plain one. They haven't labelled it up, births, deaths, marriages, that sort of thing. They've left it blank, so you can write whatever you want in there, and because it's matte, you can use whatever pen you want. It's not going to smudge everywhere. So that I really like. Then we've got a blank card page which you could write on. Then we've got another blank card page which could take any sort of writing or notes you wanted. Then we get to the first title page. Now again, like I always say, the iPhone 13, the ghosting appears bad, but to the naked eye, it is not a problem. It's not bad. And it is a 32 GSM paper. So that's a little more than the normal 28 that a lot of the premium Bibles with the French milled paper have. So it's slightly more opaque than most. Now, the second title page is really nice, apart from one little thing, which is, I don't really like this here, this KJV Store QR code. It just seems a little out of place to have it there. And I think it would be much improved because you've got a verse from the Bible right underneath it. I mean, if they put that onto the copyright page, I think that would just be a more fitting place for it to be, stick it down here or rejig this slightly and have it on this page. But the information is here. It's copyright 2025. You can see that it was printed and bound in the Netherlands by Youngblood, and it's published by the KJV Store. The typeface is the 10/11 point by Monarchy by 2K Denmark. And it mentions Randy Brown from Bible Buying Guide, who was the creator and general editor and the creator of the concept of this reader. Okay, so we're moving on to the contents, and we will speed up a bit, but there's something that I have to show you here, which when I saw it, I must admit my heart did miss a beat, and I had to immediately go into the text. So I said to my wife, what is wrong with this page? And she was looking at it for a while, and she said, oh, I can't see anything. And then she said, oh, maybe you don't like that Matthew, Mark, Luke and John are saint? I said, no, I don't mind that at all, because they are saints, as are all born-again believers. It's not that that I don't like, but it's what comes after. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Romans. Where is the book of Acts? So, with my heart in my mouth, I turned to find, yes, the book of Acts is there. All chapters, all verses, Acts is there. So it is some sort of typo that has gone on here. Now, it's a company called Peachtree, I think, that they had to do the proofreading of this, but they obviously missed out that. Must have been just a human error probably, or looking at computer screens. But I'm sure for later editions, Acts will be reinserted into the table of contents. And if you have one that does not have Acts in the table of contents, that will be proof that you have one of the very first in the first ever print run. Okay, so then we get into the guide, which is quite comprehensive and does tell you everything you need to know about the syntax of this Bible, which is patented as sacred syntax. And I've listened to Randy Brown doing a lot of reviews, so I can almost hear his voice in my head as I read through this, and he tells you, the ideas that he's had, the concepts that he's had that have made it into this. Now, not all of them made it in. He wasn't able to do it exactly how he wanted, and he explains that on other videos where he himself talks about the process, etc. So the verse numbers, first of all, are off to the side, and it reads like a reader, but you can find the verse because there will be an extra space where the verse would be. So where you would normally find the verse in that space in the text, the verse is to the side to make a smoother reading experience. And this works well. Now, the closest Bible that I've seen to this would probably be the Schuyler Treveris, which is a 10-point font, 28 GSM paper. It has the same system, but instead of a space, it always puts a capital letter for the start of the next verse, even if it wouldn't normally be a capital. So they've done that. In this Bible, they've gone with the space, and I think Randy wanted to put some sort of like red little emblem in there at first, but it just, 2K Denmark said it just wasn't possible to do that. So the space is good, and it's not the sort of Bible that you're really looking for individual verses in, because you've got to think, what is the purpose of this Bible? This is a reader's Bible. This is one that draws you into extended reading of the text. It's not one for studying. It doesn't have footnotes and references. It's not really one to take to a Bible study. It's one for reading for pleasure or reading out loud in a situation where you are, in a church or in a group and you need to read a portion of scripture. A bit like with coming up to Christmas, the readings and the various services where there's just traditional readings done. It's a great Bible to do that with. So you have drop caps, which are really beautifully done. They cover 3 lines in poetry or 4 lines in standard text, and that's explained. The section headings, there are 2 types. There's a black ones, which are slightly larger and identify major sections. And then there are red section headings, which are slightly smaller and are kind of more minor sections within sections. Now, the page information on this Bible is down in the bottom right-hand corner, or right or left-hand corner, which this has taken me a bit of getting used to. So normally, in any Bible you use, you have the reference up here, the chapter, the book, etc. up here. And so I'm like, where am I? But it's down here, which is just different, it just takes a little bit of getting used to. It's not any more difficult to find anything. It's just that I guess I, like many, have become kind of institutionalized into looking here for the book and for the the chapter that you're in, rather than down here. So it slows you down slightly as you get used to it, but that's not a bad thing because it makes you appreciate the layout more. And the justification that they use is that in any sort of piece of artwork, the signature goes at the bottom, So they consider this, and I do also, to be, an artistic rendering of God's word. And so it's fitting, to have it down here. And it just changes things up a bit, which isn't a bad thing. So, okay, so we've got red letter in the New Testament, which again, it's not my preference, but somehow it just seems fitting in this Bible with the other red highlights and with them making an effort to make things stand out for you. So, quotations. This is a brilliant feature. So any phrases in the Old Testament which are quoted in the New Testament are semi-bolded. Likewise, any phrases in the New Testament which are quoted from the Old Testament are semi-bolded. So as you're reading, you see slightly bolder text in the Old, you know that portion is quoted in the New. And when you're reading in the New and you see that slightly bolded, you know it's a quotation from the Old. But being a reader, it doesn't direct you to those quotations, but there is an index in the back where they're all listed. So just like the original KJV, this edition was designed for public reading in mind. I think, this was designed for public reading, or with public reading in mind. But so they wanted to aid the reader in the way your eye sees the different types of text that you're dealing with. So poetry is indented quite significantly. And then they've got little markers and different indentations for different types of literature within the literature you're reading. So if you see a personal letter that is within there, you will have a small PI will be beside, an LE for letter will be there. If it is a prayer, there will be a little PR to indicate that this is a prayer. If it's a parable, there'll be a little PA. If it's a dream, there will be a DR. And dreams are interesting because there's not many dreams, but they are the text is centered so that it's sort of cloud-like in its formation, I guess, because a dream is sort of a little bit of an unusual experience to have. And so that's reflected by the cloud-like formation of the letters. It's all explained in here. Visions, you have a little VI. And then at the end of a book, the bookend tapers down like this, which is sort of like an arrow to point you to the next book. There's a symbol there, which is nice. That's the end of that book. You're ready for the next book. It reminds me a little bit of like a scroll ending or something. Or, one of those things you put on the table runners that come down. But it's just nice, it's just pleasant. Now, my wife is not a reader of the King James Version, but I still love her. But she was an NIV girl, and now she's an ESV girl. But she herself, when she's seen this, and she's not into, premium Bibles and stuff like that, it's not her thing at all. But she did say, looking at this makes her want to read it, makes her want to read through this Bible. So I've got other King James Bibles that have not had that effect. So it works, basically. I think Randy Brown, the team at the KJV Store who've put this together, who want it to be a format that draws you in to read, their purpose has been achieved. So Genesis, you see, you've got the good-sized font. The drop cap covers 4 lines, so we know that this is not poetry. The creation is the major subheading. Obviously, these subheadings are not divinely inspired. They're inserted to aid the reader. Then the first day, the second day, the third day, etc. are in red, slightly smaller, so they're headings, subheadings within the major part that you're reading. So the creation is the overarching heading. These are the more minor headings. And as you read through, you can see verse 12, you go along the line. There's a space there. So verse 12 starts at the word and, if you needed to know that. But generally, it's not something you particularly need to know because you're just enjoying the experience of reading. So if I flick across to, say, the 10 Commandments here, 10 Commandments, so it's not poetry, it's 4 lines are covered, but then we get into them, we see an LI for list, we see some indentation that is unique to lists, and then it goes down through them. Now, we notice, I don't know if this will pick it up, the phone will or not, but we notice that some of the 10 Commandments are semi-bolded. For instance, honour thy father and thy mother. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's house, etc. These ones are semi-bolded because they are quoted in the New Testament. The others are not quoted in the New Testament and are not semi-bolded. So that information is conveyed to the reader without you having to look at footnotes or cross-references or small text down the bottom. You can just tell that as you're reading through it. If I move across to the book of Daniel, there's a few good examples of different layouts in the sacred syntax. So looking at Daniel chapter 4 here, you can see the normal justification at the sides of the narrative. Then we get to a letter, there's an LE, and you can see that the text is narrowed. There's indentation because it's a letter. So we read through the letter, but then at a certain point we get to a dream. So there's a DR there for dream, and the indentation is more, and it's centered. So that dream continues down here. Then the dream is finished, and then we're back to the letter. So it's still not fully justified. You can see, if you, especially through the camera, you can see the full justification on the next page, but this is a letter, so it's not fully justified. It's indented and left with a raggedy edge there. So that letter continues right through. And then we get back to narrative here on chapter 5, full justification, the letter's ended. And so it's just a great thing, you know, you will get more and more used to it as you read. It's just full justification. The 11-point font is easy to read. Now, the font size is 11 point, but it's not a big reading font. Now, this is the New King James here, is a 10.5 font, but it does seem larger to me than the 11 here. So although it says 11, it's not, you know, it does seem slightly smaller than that to my eye anyway. Okay, so then we'll come right through and we'll find, yes, the book of Acts is there. There's one of the beautiful 3 ribbons, which are just so good, so fitting in this Bible. You can see the end of Luke tapering away. You can see some red letter there. Let's have a look at some more red letter. So the red letter in amongst the black. As usual for my eyes, the black sort of stands out more than the red. But anyway, the red is there. And again, you know, loads of people love red letter, so I've got no issue with it in this Bible, and it does just go nicely with the deeper red of the drop caps and the little symbols that they have. So then we go right through the Bible to the end. Again, you spot every so often the darker font. The dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that is washed to her wallowing in the mire. So we know that that is coming from the Old Testament. So when you get to the end of the Bible, beautifully ends, then you get the quote index. So if you're in an Old Testament book and you find some bolded text, for instance, in Genesis 1, verse 27, you know that that bolded text is found in the New Testament in Mark 10, verse 6, and right through the books like that. But then if you're in the New Testament and you find in Matthew a bit of bolded text, say in Matthew chapter 1, verse 23, there's some bolded text. It's coming from Isaiah 7:14. So if you went to the Old Testament and went to Isaiah 7:14, you will see that that is quoted in Matthew 1:23. So it works really, really well, I think. One thing that I've noticed that's a little strange is it seems like they only mention the books where quotes are found, which is what you would expect. So Genesis Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. There's no numbers that are quoted in the New Testament, Joshua. But then on just 3 of the Old Testament books, Ecclesiastes and Solomon, there it says Ecclesiastes none, Song of Solomon none. So I don't know why they have appeared with none written under when, for instance, Numbers doesn't appear with none written under it. So that's another kind of anomaly of the first printing, I think, that we will find perhaps in a second printing, they're deleted because there's no real reason for them to be there. I think there was one other I noticed also that said none. There it is, Daniel. So again, there's not really any reason for Daniel to be mentioned, or you would either put all the books in and put none on the ones that have none, or just not have them there. So that's an anomaly, I think, of the first printing. That's what I'm putting that down to. So then you've got the word list, which is supplied by Trinitarian Bible Society, and then in the TBS Bibles, who are big sort of advocates of the KJV and want people to keep using the KJV. So they've come up with this list of the words which are obsolete or archaic, and they've given a modern equivalent there. So for instance, the word anon, which appears in Matthew 13 and Mark 1, means immediately. So it just gives you that. So in some of the TBS Bibles, these are on the same page. The word is asterisked, and the modern equivalent appears on the same page, which is really useful. But in this Bible, and that's what I prefer, but in this Bible, you don't want any more clutter on the page. So I'm sort of glad it's here. And it's a Bible that it's not, if you want to work out those words, you will do that yourself. You won't be sort of, you'll read it, you'll think, oh, I'll check the back for that one if you want to. But it's not a study Bible, so that's okay with me. It does have a reading plan based on the McChain Read the Bible, whole Bible in 2 years, New Testament, Psalms and Proverbs, I think twice. Then you have an unusually large section of maps, 16 maps, so that is a lot of maps. So is there any way that, and then you're at the end, and that is one amazing Bible, which is really great. It lays flat, it's got great art gilding, the salmon under gold colour. It's superbly made, it feels great in the hand. It's just one that you just want to keep, you want to read, you want to use, and it does what it's supposed to do. The only thing I would like to see in it to improve it would be just a tiny bit of information about the King James Bible itself. So I would like the dedication to King James to be in here, and I would like the translator to the readers to be in here. And I know that translator to the readers is quite a large document, but it's so interesting. It just gives you such an insight into the translators of the King James Bible and why they did what they did, etc., etc. In TBS Bibles of a similar size, it takes 19 pages. So this, massive map section, maybe I would have just maybe eight standard maps rather than 16 to allow a bit of space for that translator to readers. Also, the information about why certain words are in italics, why the LORD is in capital letters, etc. I mean, this stuff will be well known to people who use the KJV, but for people who are new to it, it would be good information to have. And the Westminster Reference Bible is a great place to get all that information. And as TBS are allowing KJV Store to use their material in the word list and the Bible reading plan, perhaps they would allow some of that information about the KJV Bible to help people who are new to it with some of the choices and the way words are in italics, etc. What that means would be just a great addition. But anyway, it's a brilliant Bible. Thoroughly recommend it. Definitely get one if you can. and I don't think you will regret it. There is nothing else really to compare with it. It's kind of unique, and it's just a really good thing, and I'm so glad that they've done that, and I think it'll really bless people. So there we are. It's my longest ever video. Play it at night if you're tired. It'll help you go to sleep perhaps. But thanks for listening, those who have got this far, and God bless you. Have a really great day. Bye bye now.